DBuzz is a decentralized censorship-resistant microblogging social media app built on the Hive blockchain. Nathan Senn is the founder of DBuzz, who's currently based in the Philippines. So, welcome Nathan to start the podcast. We're very happy to have you.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate your time and speaking with me today about DBuzz.
Yes, how are you? And how's the Philippines?
Yeah, I love it here. Yeah, I've been here since 2016. So I've really enjoyed staying here.
Yes. You're currently building DBuzz now. So you actually started abroad and you're kind of venturing, you're kind of trying out things here in the Philippines. But let's talk about DBuzz first, and then maybe later we can talk about those stories. So Nathan, what is DBuzz?
DBuzz is a decentralized social media where users can go on and post content, and then that content is stored on the Hive blockchain. And what that does is it makes it where users own their accounts. So all of the content that you post, all of the connections that you make on DBuzz is stored on the Hive blockchain. So there's no way that anyone can come and take away your account from you, because it is a cryptographic account, which you own the keys to. So any content or any connections that you make there, you own those for life.
Yeah, let's go to the motivations first. Maybe of like why really did you start DBuzz? I mean, maybe we can contrast it with the current social media apps. Maybe, I think it's exciting to talk about like the current social media apps right now, like maybe Twitter or Facebook, especially Twitter. I think that's a microblogging social media app, and that's also like the current form of DBuzz. So, can I ask you, Nathan, why really did you start, or why really did you want to create a decentralized microblogging social media app? I think that's right when you mentioned that with when you store those accounts, those entries into the blockchain, they're immutable and they're there and you really own it. But
Right.
why really did you do this? Why really do you want to do this?
So one of the big leading reasons behind starting our own decentralized social media platform was seeing other social media platforms that have basically become the town square where people can go and have an online identity. They can create content, they can create connections, and they can interact with people in the world that way. And what I was seeing is that people would do this for years, build up a following, create lots of content, and base their businesses or whatever, on their social media presence, and then they're taken away by these social media companies without, a clear reason being given, or for violating some arbitrary clause of a contract, or um, for political reasons. There's so many different reasons that people were being taken off of social media. Regardless of my views, I feel like everyone should have a place where their voice can be heard, and where that if they make connections, if they connect with people, if they create content, they own that content, and no one can just take that away from them. And that's the beautiful thing about the Hive blockchain, is that whenever you come on and use platforms like DBuzz, any of the connections that you make there, those are on the Hive blockchain. So even if you go to other apps on the Hive blockchain, you also have those connections as well. So it's like your friend circle can kind of just follow you to whatever platform you're on, and using, and you have those connections. So even if there's some issue with one of the platforms where you don't like the direction it's going, you can just move to use a different platform, and you still have all of your connections and all of your content is still there, right? And so that's the biggest advantage of using platforms like Hive over the current um other social media platforms, Web2 platforms.
Yes, that's very exciting to hear. I think first of all, you're trying to build a legitimate town square where every person in that online space has true, genuine freedom of speech, where no one can like shoo them away or I mean, no one can censor what they're saying. And second, I think that's also important that you've said, the regulations. I mean, the rules and the regulations, because I mean, someone like if it's I mean, an entity can create these regulations to somehow influence forcing out of a few people or of a few words of a few opinions out of the town square. But when those even those regulations are also like free or like owned by the people, so I think that's a genuinely free town square or microblogging social
Right.
media app maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let's talk about first about the Hive blockchain and maybe blockchain. What really is blockchain? What do we mean when we say blockchain? So can we just know about this technology, Hive blockchain? That's where you put DBuzz above on. So can you just know about like the underlying
Right.
technology?
So all a blockchain is a decentralized ledger of information. So for example, information that's stored, so for example, your post or interactions that are made on DBuzz, that information is then stored on what we call the blockchain. And the reason that it's called a blockchain is because information is put into blocks of information, and that information is connected to the previous block of information. And there's a mathematical equation that goes into that that basically labels those boxes with the information. And those labels correlate to the information inside the box. So if any of the information changes, is visible to all of the participants because the chain doesn't fit together properly anymore. So there's no way to modify a blockchain or the information that's inside of a blockchain without there being, it being visible that there was a modification made. And then what makes it decentralized is that you have lots of computers all around the world that are storing this information together. So it's not just one entity that's producing or storing this information. It's stored across a lot of different places, and that prevents there being any type of modification or censorship on that information.
Yes, those are those are really good explanations about blockchain. I think like just to give the analogy. I mean like with Bitcoin, for example, I think blockchain really started with Bitcoin. For me, blockchain is like the chain of truth. I mean, it's the chain of truth because when something, I
Right,
mean, the next event happens because the previous event is true. For example,
right,
these are chain of truths. With Bitcoin, it's actually chain of true, verified transactions that are verified by the whole network of computers
right,
or of any entities in that network. And in the case of DBuzz, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, so it's like a chain of microblogs, a chain of like word entries, a chain of posts that when everything's verified because like you cannot modify a previous one because if you will modify a previous one, you have to replace all of those entries in after that in the chain. Is that
right.
correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yes, but speaking about this decentralized and censorship resistant, I mean, can we just see exactly the manifestations of this in a social media app? I mean, how important is decentralization or how important is censorship resistant in a social media app? I mean, I think it's somehow a purpose and advocacy. I mean, something that you're also like fighting for. I mean, with most social media apps right now, I think all of those prominent social media apps are like owned by big institutions. So what do we really mean when we say we want a decentralized or a censorship resistant social media app?
Yeah, so yeah, some of it is for activism. I'm a proponent of activism and people being able to speak out
Mm.
against injustices that they see. Although, I'm not politically aligned to any parties or, political views. I have my own personal views, but for the most part, I'm more interested in creating tools for other people to use to share their opinions. Um, And I think that being decentralized it is the greatest form of censorship resistance because um, there's no entity that can really come in and take that away on the Hive blockchain, and it gives the users ownership over their identity online, your online identity, right? You own that. Where with Web 2, you will never own your online presence or your own. They own it, right? And they monetize it, and you're just, a product of their, machine.
Yeah, I think this is a very crucial and critical concept to deal with, like freedom. What really is freedom? How that I mean that's too deep. I mean that's too deep. But like, because right now social media apps are sort of centralized. I mean, as I've said before, those chain of truths, only a centralized entity is verifying those transactions, with, let's say with Bitcoin, let's say with social media, the chain of entries. But what if that entity is compromised? So the strength of decentralization, maybe, I think, is like, since everyone is verifying that those chains of truths, that's basically immutable, because you have to change
Right,
the entire network, which is the entire community, the entire society. So
right.
I'm actually also really one with I actually really want a truly genuinely decentralized social media app. But speaking of DBuzz as a microblogging social media app, so are there other special features? I mean, does it also have the same a limit of characters? I mean, are there special features in it? And is there a native token? Do you have a token? I mean, how is the token also like embedded in how you use the app?
Wait, so as far as the amount of characters, I'm not exactly sure in comparison to other social media. I would say that it's most likely is similar to Twitter character count, but from what I understand, there could be like a variation in the amount of characters, but it's meant to be a short form content post. And then the current token that we're using is the Hive token. So our app token is Hive. We have talked a lot about doing a DBuzz token, but that's not something that we've rolled out or really have like a clear roadmap on right now. But it is something that we have discussed a lot, and maybe something that we do in the future.
Yeah, but I mean, if ever, how do people use the token? How do people use Hive? I mean, do you need Hive to post an entry? I mean, how does it work?
So in order to post on the Hive blockchain, you need resource credits.
Hmm.
And resource credits are generated every day based on the amount of Hive power you hold. So if you have Hive power, you get resource credits, which allows you to make entries in the ledger. What we do is whenever people join DBuzz, we actually delegate resource credits to them so they can make posts from our Hive power. Because we can just delegate our resource credits to people, and then they can make entries on the Hive blockchain using our resource credits. So that's how we're doing it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting economics here. That's an interesting tokenomics, as how some people in
And
the
as
web.
far as people earning off of Hive or earning off of DBuzz, when you make a post, people upvote your post based
Um,
on their Hive power. They have voting, what is called voting credits. So you have resource credits and voting credits, and then your voting credits are recharging every day as well. So you can vote on so many different things, and then based on how much Hive power you have, um, it increases the amount of
hmm.
earnings that they get off their posts.
That's very interesting. I mean, it's kind of the same of upvote, with like with Reddit, for example. But like when you support someone, that person, I mean, in a deeper sense, that person or that entity gets more capability to express or to speak.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. That's a very nice like the use of that token in the social media app. Anyway, let's talk about DBuzz, because DBuzz is actually based and actually started abroad and now building a community and headquarters here in the Philippines through you and through Chris Rice, who actually I've talked with. So let's talk about the Philippines first. I mean, you've been here for like 6 or 7 years. So do you think there's something special in the Philippines, especially for like this blockchain, Web3 decentralized community? I mean, right now the Philippines or Filipinos are one of the like majority adopters of Web3. So what do you think in general of the Filipino community?
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I came here in 2016, and one of the first things that I noticed when I got here that was different from other places was CoinsPH. So and even back in 2016, Philippines had CoinsPH where you could easily transact crypto and transfer it to um any pawn shop or whatever, to get the cash or send to ATMs. I mean, they had so many different cash out, cash in options. So I knew like as soon as I came here that this seemed like a very crypto friendly country. And then over the years that I've been here, I've joined many different groups and meetups and kind of met the Philippines crypto community and seen like it's a very big and thriving community of people here, and developers, very, very high level developers here in the Philippines as well. So yeah, I've had a great experience here, and I think like Philippines is definitely like a great place to be in the blockchain space right now.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about coins.ph, I just remember because I've used that for I think 2016 I started using that. But I think in the Philippines, most people use that for two things. First, for remittance. I mean, remittance cross countries, because there are many OFWs, overseas Filipino workers, and they have to transfer money from abroad to the Philippines, and they use Bitcoin.
Right.
They use that form of currency. And second, there's actually like this um sort of investment, because during that time, I think those are the times that like Bitcoin actually like went um 10 times, 20 times, I'm not sure, but I think those
Right.
are the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I also want to ask about you, Nathan, maybe. I mean, how did you learn? So you said that you've been here for 7 years, and how did you learn programming and blockchain technology? I mean, how did you get into the tech aspect of this? I mean, how did you get the skills to code, debuzz, to do all of these things? I mean, did you also take up like programming back in college, maybe?
No, I got my first computer when maybe I was 3 years old. And then I started learning how to write computer programming for games when I was about 9 or 10 years old. So I've been doing computer coding all my life basically. I never went to college or any type of like further education. I just self-taught myself um, coding skills and writing games and building websites and working on various projects. And then I guess in 2013, 2014, I began getting interested in cryptocurrency and learned about Bitcoin, learned about blockchain. I actually worked on some other currency systems for different websites and stuff, even before like we really understood what blockchain was. So I was very interested in this type of project, and then I got very interested in blockchain and began working actually on different blockchain projects, such as some different forks of Monero, and various code bases that are part of Monero. Um, so that kind of led me into learning deeper uh, understanding of the core of how blockchain and encryption and privacy and all of these different things work together, how mining works like at a very technical level. So it's just been kind of like years of working on different projects. Kind of learned all of these different skills, and then in 2019, I met Chris, and he was having meetups here in the Philippines to teach people about cryptocurrency and about Hive. Um, back when it was Steam before they changed to Hive. And there was a lot of talk about doing a decentralized social media, and I started sharing with Chris some of my knowledge and just kind of giving some advice on how you would go about doing it. Well, he ended up convincing me to do a decentralized social media in partnership with him. And then in 2020, we really began working and building out the current DBuzz project.
Yeah, that's nice to hear, Chris. I've talked as well with Chris before. So yeah, but going into this startup aspect of DBuzz, I'm really very curious. I mean, it's not easy to first maybe you know the skills on how, I mean, you know the back end skills, the dev skills, but it's a totally different aspect to business, like to startups, to entrepreneurship, to innovations, and to continuously as well build the community, build like the model, the financial model of it. So how is the experience maybe from 2020 onwards, like really building DBuzz as a startup, financially, economically, business, everything, and as well as most importantly, building the community. I also really want to ask about that.
Yeah, so it has been challenging. It's been a challenging project. It when you know it's been a very exciting project and an interesting one. As far as like building the community, we've really been working hard. Like Chris is doing a great job here, going out and recruiting people and getting people very interested. We spent a lot of time working on our onboarding process for being able to onboard people onto DBuzz. That was one of the issues that we had in the very beginning was going through the onboarding process for Hive was a little bit more difficult than the average user was prepared for. So we tried to simplify it down and make it as simple as possible to make it where the average user would be able to go on and make an account and use the platform without having any real technical issues. So I feel like we've gotten there, and we're gonna work on a lot more features like that are try and simplify things more. Um, as far as the financial side of things, we've been self-funded all the way from the very beginning, so we haven't taken any outside venture capitalist funds or anything like that. We're currently looking to submit a proposal to the Hive Fund, and Hive Fund is a development fund for people who build applications on the Hive blockchain or do things to promote or improve Hive. So you can, if you have an idea, you can apply for grant money from the Hive Fund, and then if you're approved, then you'll get that funding. So we're looking at doing that in the next few months. So yeah.
Yeah, and the Philippines also has for me, I think it has a very supportive cryptocurrency network or community, even for like investors or for like ventures. So I think
Yeah.
yeah, I mean maybe we can help each other form for like build a larger network. Um I want to ask about the social media aspect. I mean, you mentioned that you're trying to simplify things, you're trying to make it easier for people, especially because Filipinos right now, or even people, I mean, everyone actually, I mean, are used to the current social media apps. I mean, it's not easy to move. I mean, the switching, the switching cost
Right.
somehow is not low. So especially for Filipinos, Filipinos are big fans of Facebook. I think Facebook is the most. Maybe Instagram, Twitter. I think those are the three. LinkedIn, for example. So could you just know some thoughts on like how do you try to get people to come in and try? I mean, just the first step, just to try, and then from that, I mean, how do you try to make these people regularly use the app? I mean, can I just know some thoughts behind some perspectives about this?
Yeah, so one of the things right now that Chris is working on is he's building up some teams that kind of go out and just educate people on decentralization and blockchain. So the idea is that they would become interested in blockchain or cryptocurrency And then if you're involved in any type of crypto, it just makes sense to use decentralized social media as well. So that's kind of our thoughts on that, and then also showing that people can monetize and own their content, and just like showing the importance of owning your identity online. I think it's going to become like very much more apparent in the coming years, especially as the political divides around the world like continue to shift. You'll see like groups of people who are just completely like shut out of social media, because their opinions are not going to be valued as valid opinions, and instead of like having a debate and letting people decide who's right or wrong, then our overlords in these social media companies are going to decide who's right, and then the other people are going to have to be like cut off and silenced. And if we live in that world, then it just leads to one place. So I think it's important. And you know, it's never easy like going up against giants to you know, overtake giants, but you know, I think that it's important to make a place online that's free and open for people.
I totally agree with that. Thank you for sharing those words. I mean, really, I mean, I mean, I cannot express how I'm also passionate with these kind of things. And thank you, Nathan and Chris, no, for building this technology to maybe revolutionize how we truly express our words, our opinions, our ideas in a really fair way. I mean, there's no power, there's no political power place, there's no censorship. We can really express our what we want to express without fear, maybe without any hesitation. So share, say, speak what we want to speak about, and then yeah, I really want a world like that. So thank you as well for laying out the foundations, especially in the technology side. um yeah, so what's in the future for DBuzz? I mean, what's in the roadmap for DBuzz, in like maybe what, how really do you see DBuzz in maybe 5 years, 10 years? Because I mean, right now it's true, it's a very good strategy, like starting with the people who actually know and use cryptocurrency. I think they're the first base of people to onboard, and then second, maybe evangelize people about decentralization, freedom, democratizing how we do things in the world. So yeah, can you just know really the future plans for DBuzz?
So right now, we're currently wrapping up development on version 3 of DBuzz, and then we're going to begin development on version 4 of DBuzz. Just adding new features, adding the ability to log in with various different methods, such as other social media logins. You'll be able to log in with using like an email login system. So having like other onboarding options other than creating a Hive account just to get people in. That way, if people aren't totally comfortable with generating keys or having their own keys, they can still use the platform and see the benefits of it, and then we can slowly walk them through the process of onboarding onto Hive and having and understanding like storing and protecting their keys, but just like an easier process to getting people there. So that's one of the big things that we're working on. Also, working on some different abilities to post on other blockchains, or working with other blockchain projects to so DBuzz becomes, you know, larger than just being on Hive. So those are some of the bigger things I can think of. And then also we had mentioned a lot about doing a token. So yeah, I think that's kind of.
Yeah, but it's also, yeah, I mean, I actually agree that the maybe the first the priority now should be like really onboarding people and really making people accept how to adapt to this technology. I mean, to DBuzz
Right.
as the new decentralized censorship-resistant social media application. Yeah, so thank you, Nathan, for this conversation. I really like the conversation, and I really love hearing about people like you and Chris who have this advocacy of making a true, genuine, legitimately free town square. So if our listeners want to know more about DBuzz, So maybe they want to use the app, maybe they want to download it, maybe they want to even partner up with you or know more about the community. So how can they find more information? Feel free to invite them.
Yeah, so if you're interested, you can go over to d.buzz and make an account and sign up and check it out. And then if you want to speak to either me or Chris, you can just reach out through our social media channels. You can just look for us, DBuzz. We're on most of all the social media channels. So if you send us a message to any of our accounts there, and then Chris's email is chris@d.buzz. And then I'm Nathan@d.buzz, so you can email us as well.
Yeah, I put those links below. So it's actually d.buzz. That's a very that's a very cute work around with like the domain names. Yeah, so thank you very much, Nathan, for this conversation. Thank you and more power to DBuzz. D.buzz.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you very much to our 29 patrons. Asklex PH Academy is our official e-learning partner. Get certifications on Lean Six Sigma, project management, data science, and many more. This episode is super powered by TechShake, Asia's most active Philippine-based startup ecosystem builder creating bridges with investors, corporations, and governments. One CFO, the tech-enabled CFO, bookkeeping, and tax services for startups and SMEs. Pinoy IP Works, capture your startup's value proposition through patent and trademark protection. Packetworks, the leading enabler and only Internet of Things social enterprise in the Philippines. Looking for buy and sell online with Sigurado sellers. NutriCoach, the all-in-one productivity tool for dietitians and nutritionists. Benjoy's Food Products, the home of premium bacon ends, tapa, and tocino. And 8Chain, an 8-in-1 cryptocurrency project building one chain at a time starting with MaxRep, Workout, and Earn. This episode is powered by AltSwitch, Twala, Eplayment, InterLeukin, and Hive Energy PH. Support the podcast through the links in the description.